Hey, I'm gonna go put this in the sand, and then I'll let you guys get started. Is that cool?
I'm gonna work on my lighting.
Make sure you put on some sunscreen.
We're gonna have some fun, but we're also gonna start on time and we're gonna end on time. Do we have everybody here? All right, I'm gonna hand this over to Sam Marx. Sam Marx, you're gonna intro this thing, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Today's training is gonna be led by Sam Marx. Go for it, dude. Introduce your people.
All right.
Stats.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Mahalo, I suppose. Nice to see everybody on here. So we got a good group and some more people popping in. Yeah, so I'll jump right into it. I'm Sam. We've got a good panel today. I'll step back and say the point of this is about, we're talking about buyers today. A lot of the conversations we have are about listings and prospecting and generating business, which is all obviously very important. There's a few of us out there who are building businesses around being buyers agents and working with buyers, and it's been an interesting year to 18 months or so of that. So the focus on this is how to win for your buyers, how to position your buyers, how to deal with your buyers. Hopefully you got a bunch of them, and there's more buyers than there are sellers these days, so shouldn't be hard to find a client. We'll talk about all of that. So Joe asked me to do a training on buyers, being the agent for the team, and I said I'm going to need some help with that. So I called in two fantastic buyers agents who are amazing and know more than I do. So I'm excited to have us all talk about it. Kate and Steph are here. Kaitlyn Mack is with Jen Keen's group. Hello, Kaitlyn. And Kaitlyn, you want to introduce yourself real quick? Let people know who you are, what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, so I'm Kaitlyn. I'm on Jennifer Keen's team in New Jersey, Jackson. I've been licensed in November, was 3 years. This coming May, it'll be full-time that I've been doing it 3 years. The first probably 6 months, I was part-time. So that was definitely a big transition coming into full-time. But, I'm a buyer's agent on the team. I work with a lot of first-time home buyers. I'm also Jennifer's listing assistant, which is really great. So I get to see both sides, the ins and outs of that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm happy to be here. Thanks to Sam for asking me to do this. It's awesome. It should be really good.
Awesome. Thank you for jumping on. And Stephanie Morrison, I saw you. There you are, top right corner. You want to introduce yourself? Tell people where you are, what you do.
Hey guys, my name's Stephanie. I'm in Denver, Colorado. EXP. I'm heading into my 3rd year. I had a really busy last 12 months, which was not expected. Mostly buyers. I had 2 listings and everyone else was a buyer. And I think everywhere is a hot market, but Denver is definitely a hot market. And so I basically have to sell my soul every time I try and win a bidding war. It's pretty great.
Yeah, that is it. We're trying everything that we can. And who I am, like I said, I'm Sam. I'm in Jersey too. Monmouth Ocean County. Here in Jersey, I'm the buyer's agent for Joe's team, Joe Oz Group. Collectively, this is an awesome group. I'm excited for Stephanie and Kaitlyn to share everything that they know and share about. We've got about, I think in the past, so I've been in for a year. March, I got my license. So I'm coming up on a full year now. It's been a crazy year, obviously. I started in coronavirus and through the summer, collectively between the 3 of us, there's 66 buyer transactions in the past 12 months, written and closed. It's fantastic, 25-ish, 30 million in volume. So listen, when Kate and Steph talk, they have a lot. And so what I did before this, I went and actually, the 3 of us had 2 separate conversations. And I just wrote down like the big things that I wanted to talk about today. We're going to talk about like a bit about process, how you can make yourself sort of stand out, how you can make your buyer stand out. There's a million different strategies, different things that you could try and do to win the hearts of Gil Olson, our listing agents, right? We need people to pick our buyers' offers. But the 2 things that stood out for me that were really interesting.
Don't have a heart.
Yeah, don't bother with Gil. He has a hard drive. No heart. But the 2 things, and Steph and Kate, you guys will remember. Stephanie, when we spoke, you said it was really interesting that you're finding that buyers need to lose a few before they can trust you. And your goal is really to get them to get a buyer to trust you so that you can protect them, right? Like you're going to go out there and do everything you can for them, but you're going to need their trust and you're going to need their buy-in, which is always great. And then Kate, we talked about making the offer stronger on the back end as opposed to making the offer, because there's only so much you can do with the offer. Like there's terms, there's price, closing time, down payment, whatever there is. How can you strengthen it on the back end? And to me, that really translated into trust and creativity. So really like the two things that you can try and do to make yourself stand out. So I want you two to talk about those things. I'm going to kind of get through like the boring part. I feel like it has to be said that there's sort of like a basic of writing up an offer and presenting an offer that you have to realize, like in my mind, logically, this should be done. But I think a lot of people just aren't doing it. You got to remember your competition. There's thousands of realtors in Monmouth and Ocean County and whatever market you're in. There's a lot of people who are probably just writing offers and pressing send on the email, right? Attaching it to an email, here's our offer, gone. And that's just not enough. Like that's, you're not going to stand out at all. So a few things that I've written down here that kind of are just a part of my basic process is you got to call the listing agent. So even if they're not going to answer the phone, you have to try and get them on the phone. Call them 10 times. I think Joe has said before that he's won out before because he's been the most annoying agent. You have to just be annoying. You have to get a conversation because you have to answer some questions before you can like position your buyer. And when you're calling, you want to make those sort of questions like, you obviously want to know if there's offers in, there probably are given the market, but you want to get a sense of like what's important. The question that I always ask is like, I can only do so much with the price. What's important to your sellers? Is there something terms wise? Is it money down? Is it closing time? Is there something else that I could work with other than the price? Because that's the one that we have the least control over in the end. So you're trying to like mine for any of that information. So you got to call them. I've emailed, I've texted, whatever you got to do. You have to try and get in touch. Then there's something that Gil told me in the very beginning is like your offer, the standard New Jersey offer has like a lot of points to it. There's a lot of things on it that in the beginning, I just skipped all of them. I didn't put anything in there like license number, agent's address, agent's cell phone number, any of that sort of stuff. The check boxes about point of entry systems, whatever those things are. I just didn't do it. Right. So like, don't be me in March of last year. Go through it, make sure it's super organized, because every single thing that you don't do is just another ding against you. And there's no room to like shoot yourself in the foot. Right. So you want to go through that whole offer. I actually have a video that's on our YouTube channel, I think, Joe, of the entire, it's about 15-minute process of I film my screen. This is how you fill out an offer. This is where you get your information from. These are the things you need. We can share it. It's on YouTube, but someone can maybe put it in the channel, put it in the chat here. It'll walk you through the whole process. It takes about 15 minutes, 20 minutes if like you're new to it. And if you do like 10 a week, if you want to get good at it and get a system built around it. So there's that. There's every part of the contract. Check all that off. The biggest thing for me is that you're selling yourself too. You're selling yourself and your team. So in that email, in that phone call, you need to make it clear. And it's not a stock email. I rewrite it every time because it has to feel like kind of real. You're selling your team. I'm with the Joe Oz group. We did 100 transactions last year. We have a transaction coordinator, right? We've got admin assistants. We have, I have a dedicated listing agent on my team that I go to for help with any situation that I can't answer on my own. We have attorney partners, right? We're using our lender. If your buyer's using your lender and your attorney, you sell that whole package. We're good. I always say we did 100 transactions last year. None of them fell apart. None of them that used our attorney and our lender. Evan Beach, who's on the call, I'm not sure. None of when that team was together, none of them fell apart, right? So you're selling that confidence. And again, to someone like Gil or Jen, who's on the listing side, that person's agreeing to work with you for the next 2 months too. You're like their business partner for the next month and a half, 45 days, whatever that is. So the more that you can express, like, this is going to be a smooth transaction, it's going to be a good time for you, I'm going to help you out, we're going to get to the closing table. That's the thing that you have control over more than, again, you do of purchase price. So there's that. And then it's just being in touch, right? Like a lot of listing agents are defaulting to highest and best within like 24 hours or 48 hours now, which, call it what you want. I think it's a little lazy, but whatever. You have no control over that. So you have to just be in touch, just be there the whole time. If they make requests of you, get your answers quickly. And that kind of ends like that. I think we're all smart people. If you're on this call, you're a smart person, you probably know that, but just remember that like, there's no room to be lazy, right? So you kind of do it all. That's like that's baseline stuff that you have to do to kind of stand out. Steph, I wanted to ask you, we talked a little bit on the phone last week about like specifics. What are you doing? Your business comes a lot from sphere of influence, right? Friends, people that are in your world.
Yeah.
What are you doing to build? How are you building that trust, and how are you dealing with it? If like, I'm working with a good friend of mine. We got beat on 4 houses, 4 before, and he's my friend, so he's not going to fire me, but it's a weird conversation. So how are you handling that? Like when you're dealing with losses or preparing in the upfront for it?
So for me, I wait until, because a lot of people do know me from the gym or wherever. I wait until I get that first meeting. The second they send me something, I'm like, oh my God, this is already gone without a doubt. But I don't tell them that. I get them in their car to meet me there. They see the line of people, they see the whole thing. They see me handle it, go through, show them a few houses, and then explain to them that one-on-one time, they're not going to believe me, and they're going to be discouraged if I answer, but, oh, you want to look at houses? Well, you're going to lose every offer. It's not going to work. But they do need to hear that, because they are going to lose quite a few, most likely, So getting that one-on-one time with them initially. And I mean, I'll do anything for one-on-one time pretty much, just like, especially that first meeting. I feel like the first time you meet them in person can just be everything. So getting in front of them, outside of however you know them, outside of however you got them, and then sitting down with them and saying, don't worry about it. I deal with this every day. This is the situation, kind of prepare yourself. This is a learning experience. You're going to learn the market. You're going to get so good at this that you're going to know what the house is going to sell for and what it's worth before you know it, and kind of getting them like psyched for the process, and then saying, 3 to 5. I see Joe laughing. I'm not sure it's just because I have sunglasses on.
No, I'm sorry. I had Gil made a drink and he sent it to me. If you could hear this, you could show it. I'm sorry. It's funny. He's in the snow. He sent a picture of his flip-flops in the snow with a drink that has an umbrella and salt on the rim. But everything you're saying is great. I'm sorry. Gil cracked me up.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
And your glasses. I forgot sunglasses. Sorry.
No, that's okay. But then I will kind of give them the nitty gritty on, like I like to tell them, it's going to be 3 to 5 offers. And, I always tell them, like, when you get into your house, it's going to make sense why you didn't get the houses that you put offers in on. And you're going to feel really good about the place that you're finally in, It's just right now, it's a bit of a learning process. I'm not sure if I answered the question. Did I?
Yeah, you totally
Okay.
did. So I mean, you're really asking them to dive into the deep end with you. Like you're saying, like this isn't going to be, hey, I'm your realtor that you called me, let's go buy a house. It's not going to take 15 minutes. It's not going to take a week. Like you're asking them to kind of take the leap of faith, and they have to be fully invested, right? Like it's really, I'm sure you've had some people who like are out of town or something like that. We have people up in New York and North Jersey who want to come down on like just Sunday afternoon from like 12 to 4.
Oh yeah. That's never gonna happen.
You're not a buyer in today's market, right? If you're trying to do that. So I think that's like a lot of, that's a lot of it. You got to you have to educate them. You're the professional. I'm sure, Kaitlyn, you're seeing the same thing with like buyers coming from out of town and they sort of want to dictate the rules. How are you kind of like, again, we're the professionals. You got to tell them the rules, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, to piggyback off what Stephanie was just saying, I think that's, meeting them in person for that first time is definitely, that's like make it or break it. And I always tell people that. Yeah, I had somebody just yesterday give me a call on one of our listings and they're like, yeah, we're really interested. I'd like to see it before my wife just to make sure that, it's something that's even worth her seeing, but I can't get down there, like you just said, Sunday afternoon. And I'm just like, houses are good. You see something on a Tuesday, like you said before, Wednesday morning, highest and best by 5 p.m. today. It's like, you got to just set those expectations, I think, in the beginning. And like, that's for yourself and for your buyer, you know, it's just laying that down right from the get-go and letting them know. Again, like Stephanie said, you're going to miss out on a couple to get that right house. And that's just the way, you know, the market is right now. There's no weekenders here. It's just, you know, as soon as that comes on, you want to get in there.
And also, I feel like if I were to, within the first 10 minutes of showing somebody a house, be like, oh, you like it? Okay, we've got to go 40 over. You got to do a 10K appraisal gap, a 90-day, you know, rent back, give them everything. And also they like your dog goes with, you know, like whatever, because then they're going to look at you like you're freaking crazy. And it's like, I'll let you put a really bad offer in and I'll slightly advise you and push you and be like, I think. And another thing is, I don't say, I think this house is going to go for, I always say, I think this house is worth. So if I know, I'll say that I think this house is worth 380. They'll say, oh, okay, well, I just want, what about 360? 360 is great. Let's go for it. In my head, I'm like, I need you to lose so that you'll listen to me next time. When I say, I think this house worth 370, you're gonna actually say, well, should we do 371? Yes, we should do anything, you know. But it's easier to let them lose if you, instead of tell them what to do.
Right. You can only tell them the truth so hard, right? You know, lead a horse to water. You can't, but then once they do it once, then they'll start to understand and you get it. And I think it's sort of about, it's not like an I told you so, right? You're not trying to like be, you know, I told you that was going to happen, but you do have to see the reality and see how quick it is. And sometimes it's like getting to that house and seeing the 15 cars lined up outside is a bit of a reality check. Like, oh, there's like 40 other people in this half an hour window, right? There could be hundreds of other people checking out the house. So, and guys, just, you know, this is like open forum. I know like, I see Derek's on here. If anybody else if anybody wants to jump in on anything we're talking about, please do.
I have a quick question, or it's either an idea or a question, but like, it probably has to be visceral for people because it's such a large amount of money. And like Steph just said, like, yeah, I think you should come in 40K over ask. Like, it just doesn't seem like it makes sense. If I'm a buyer and I wasn't knowing what was going on, I would get indignantly robotic about it and be like, well, why isn't the sticker price what the real price is? Like, I would just want the market to be that. My question would be like, has anybody ever tried to like show a story about like, hey, this was the ask price. This is what my, from a different client, like this was the ask price. This is what we offered. This is what it went for. Round 2, dream house number 2, what ask price, what we came in at, what it went for. And you show like 4 or 5 of those and be like, well, how do you want to do this one? I don't know if that's ever been an idea that
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do it more in like scripts and stories, but yeah, I always default to, I mean, I had, Joe, you remember the van couple that I worked with. These guys were living on a boat or in a van at the time. They're all over the place. They're great. And then we must have seen 45 houses. They ended up paying 35, or they paid 345 for a house that was listed at 299. They went for it. They did it. It appraised only $2,000 under. So that was like a big concern. That was like a big appraisal concern. But I tell people that story that they went through 4 or 5 houses, offers at the places they loved. They offered this, they tried to negotiate. We never got an answer. Then the next one we offered list and we were beaten by cash 10 over. Next one we came 20 over, didn't quite get there. Eventually we went like the full 345, had to get it. And you could sort of like tell that story, and those guys ended up loving their house. That does kind of take you back to what Steph was saying of like, you're going to see a house you love, but you're also going to see 10 more houses that you probably love, right? It's not just one house out there. That's how I do it. I don't know, Steph or Kaitlyn, if you've had that.
I could jump in here. I like how I never heard, Stephanie, I never heard the phrase appraisal gap.
Yeah.
What do I know, right? I'm just a realtor, but like, I never heard that. That's really awesome. I never heard it phrased that way in our market or in any of our markets, but we listed a house on Tuesday or whatever, last Tuesday, whatever, our most recent listing. You know the whole deal, like 1 million showings, blah, 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 blah. And there was 8 offers on it. And one agent was about she had more money down. She had 20% down. She was about 10 grand below the highest offer. And the offer was submitted really, really well. The house was listed at $599. We had an offer at it was 650 and then 635 or something like that. 635 offer came in, and she, like, the first thing she addressed was the appraisal. She's like, the house is listed at 600. We will cover any under appraisal from 600 to the purchase price. That's what got like, and the other people were they were 5% down. They were 20,000. They were like, whatever, 15 grand more. And it's funny, I explained it to my seller like this. Seller was older, like really confused, like the market's nuts, but I explained it to her. She's like, this one's higher. Like the appraisal thing, the under appraisal thing, she was having a really hard time understanding it. And this is how I explained it. I was like, April, you know, this is in New Jersey, right? I'm like, you know, when you go down to Atlantic City and you're playing blackjack and maybe you're learning how to play blackjack, you don't really know how to play blackjack. She's like, yeah. I'm like, I don't really know how to play blackjack, but I'll sit there and play. And sometimes if I get 2 cards, I don't know what to do. I look at the dealer, and the dealer's like, well, the book says to hit. And I don't really understand it, but I trust the book. And I kind of said, I'm like, the book here, like on paper, the lower offer that's going to, with the appraisal is better. Right. And so I called the other agent. Sam, you know this agent, you did a deal with her. I called the other agent and I was like, hey, blank. I was like, cool, I have your offer here. I see you guys have a low amount of money down here. Because if they have 5% down, it's telling me that, like, that's all they got, right? And they probably can't cover an under appraisal. So I'm like, hey, when you had the discussion with your buyers about what you guys were gonna do in an under appraisal situation, what was their response? She was like, oh. And when she said, oh, and she wasn't prepared to have that conversation right then and there, I knew she wasn't my offer. And then I called the next agent and I was like, cool, dude, you guys are ready to go. You have nothing to sell, 20% down. You're covering the over appraisal between 600 and 630. You're my offer, boom. And then I just went to my lady with it and let her know.
I have a question to kind of piggyback on that for Sam, Steph, and Kaitlyn, all of you. My brother and his fiance, they're looking to buy a home, first-time home buyers, and they're extremely concerned. And I'm in the process of getting my real estate license right now. And in the class I'm taking, they've mentioned a handful of times that if you're not putting 20% down, you're essentially not considered like a serious buyer. I'm curious how true that is, obviously just based off what I'm hearing now, that there's other ways around that entirely, but just kind of curious to hear your thoughts.
I saw you both shake your head, so I'll let you guys jump in.
Kaitlyn, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a couple stories I guess I could share, so I'll just share one. So I had a buyer. It's actually funny that you say that because I've actually had a couple offers with really strong buyers, but they're taking advantage of doing conventional with 5% down or whatnot. And a listing agent called me after we presented the offer, and she said, you checked off that your buyer's conventional, but they're only putting 5% down. You should have checked off FHA. And I was just like, is this woman really saying this to me right now? I was just like, you can do
Not 1980. Yeah.
She had no idea. Like, she had absolutely no idea. So I had to have that whole conversation with her where I was just like, please feel free to reach out to our lender. Like, any questions that you have. I don't know where you've been. I mean, I've only had my license for 3 years, but you could definitely do conventional with 5% down. Like, okay. But the story I was going to use, I had buyers that I was working with, first-time home buyers. They're not putting 20% down. They are very strong buyers, good jobs, good salaries. You know, we went in, this house came on the market the first day. It was the day before Thanksgiving that we went and saw it. While we were there, we had a confirmed appointment. I don't remember the exact time. Let's just say 3 o'clock. We were there at like 2:50. There was 6 other cars, like ever the same thing, the line out the door. We had to wait to go in, even for a confirmed appointment. We go in, we see it. They love the house. They're like, we really want to make an offer, but we know it's like a holiday weekend. I'm like, listen, if you want to make this offer, like, we make this offer right now. I'll go home, I'll write it up. We get it in before Thanksgiving tomorrow. They made it at list price. They knew the market. We'd seen a couple other houses put offers in on a couple other houses. So they knew, you know, the way the bidding wars were going and that type of thing. We went in at list price just to give it a shot. The agent called me the day after Thanksgiving and she was like, listen, We got about 5 other offers. Your clients was not the highest. They're not putting 20% down, but you were the first offer that we received out of anybody that saw the house, and they want to go with your buyer. So I definitely don't think, you don't need to put 20% down. Maybe some listing agents who are sorely mistaken and don't have all the facts think you need to put 20% down, but you definitely don't. And that's like Sam mentioned earlier when we kind of talked when he came into the office. That's why there's always, that connection you want to have with the lender, whether it be your preferred lender or, you reach out to the lender that your client's using, whatever, and just make sure that there are those other ways on the back end to just make an offer look stronger. Whether it be, can we realistically close in 30 days versus 45 days or 60 or whatnot, or just getting that offer in and you're the first one in, whether it's the highest or not. Sometimes, bank-owned properties, obviously, you're not going to get away with that. But, a regular seller, sometimes that like tugs on their heartstrings. A young couple, they're like, wow, they love this house so much. They came out the day before Thanksgiving and got their offer in right away. Like, it makes a difference. So, yeah. Oh, and the first-time home buyer letters, I always have people write those too. It's definitely, again, it's not something that's always going to work, but it's definitely just puts you over the edge a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And well, just like what Kaitlyn essentially just did, like we basically just heard your script, your response, like how you handle that sort of question from a listing agent. We just did this with a good friend of mine, and I would say 2 things. Basically, what Kaitlyn already said is like, if Evan Beach, our lender, he'll get on the phone with the listing agent and explain him. A quote that he says is that our pre-approval, our pre-qual letter is as good as cash. It's the same thing. He does it up front. It takes a week. They don't like Wells Fargo. It doesn't write it in 1 second. Our guys who are working with Evan, that takes a week to go through that process. That piece of paper is as good as cash. And the other thing that I say, if someone's doing conventional, even 3% down, again, you're selling that you're a good buyer. It's not a sign of, it shouldn't be taken as a sign of no money. It actually should be taken as a sign of financial savviness, right? Rates are at an all-time low. My guy's got the money. He's got a consistent job. He's been working there for 3-4 years, whatever that looks like. He's just trying to capitalize on free money, essentially, right? That's all that is. So don't see it as that, and see it as you're actually getting a really smart buyer here and a logical person, right? So this is another sale point of how you can present that. But Will, your point takes me to what I want to talk about next, like specific strategies. Kaitlyn mentioned the letter. I think everyone's writing, you should write a letter, right? Tell people, have your buyers tell like, oh, I love the house. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to raise my kids here. We're going to have Thanksgiving dinner here, whenever that's allowed again. Like all of that, like the letter is one thing. I'd love to just hear like very specific, what are the things that you're like the strategies or the tools or the feathers in the arrows in your arsenal that you're using to stand out? Like what tricks and tools are you guys using to get accepted 66 times this past year?
Well, I want to say that sometimes I'll do this and I have no idea if it's legal or the right thing to do, but I think we're in good company. But I'll check with my lender and be like, okay, so my couple wants to put 3% down or 5% down. Could they be approved to put 10% down? Oh, they can? Okay, great. Well, then I'm going to write the offer with that 10% in there, because once it gets accepted, they're not going to give a shit what my buyers are putting down. But it's going to look way better that they have that cash in the bank. And obviously, if they say, no, they absolutely do not have a dime over 3%, then I won't do it because, whatever. But because we do a lot of 3% downs here, I never say they're doing 3%. I always say they're doing 5 or whatever they're approved for. And then something I was talking with Sam about that I do is, and I was thinking, actually, I'd like to put together, because explaining the appraisal gap thing, appraisals, because in Denver, there's just so many up and coming neighborhoods. It's just exploding that appraisals are very worrisome, because the houses that are going very quick, the neighborhood hasn't turned yet, So it's just really predominant, and that's how you're winning the bidding war. So explaining it to your clients, I'd like to draw something up eventually where it's like, this offer for this house is $450 and this one's 450, and this one has an appraisal gap of $10,000, and this is why it's better. You know, just something really simple, because it took me a long time to understand it. And I'm in real estate, you know, but now that I do understand it, I was telling Sam that I do this. So I generally will recommend them. I'll explain that I'm recommending the appraisal gap to cover what I believe the house can raise in value in a few months, not in 10 years, in a short amount of time. So if it's a $700,000 house, it's going to be a lot more than if it's a $250,000 condo. If it's $250,000 condo and you're putting an appraisal gap to $5K, well, that's, you know, that makes sense for, you know, you're not going to have to wait 20 years for it to raise in value, especially if you're going to be doing some improvements, which most people are in these, you know, up and coming neighborhoods. But what I'll do is I'll basically kind of figure out based off the comps, and I always send my clients the comps too, because I want them to help me decide. Even, you know, it's not, I don't want to gamble with their money without them having an idea of what they're doing. So I'll send them the comps, and then I'll say, you know, what amount do you feel comfortable gambling on? I believe that we can get this house appraised for this much. But this is a gamble. You're putting your money on the line and it's a gamble. What amount do you feel comfortable gambling on? Okay, well, I feel comfortable gambling with $5,000. Okay, great. Well, how about this? I'll up your gamble that if it goes higher than that $5,000, I'll put in 1% of my commission to cover the appraisal gap past that. And I'll gamble with my money too. And I usually only do this when I pretty much know the neighborhood. I know they're going to have 10 other offers that are close to my offer that I can get with the listing agent to argue with the appraiser, that I can do my due diligence in the neighborhood and be like, look, I can prove this, I can prove that. But then the clients are going to trust me so much more because like, oh my God, she's gambling, she's spending her money. And it's like, well, I'm probably not going to have to spend it because A, you're putting 5,000 in first. And, you know, B, I've already done the math, and C, I've got, you know, negotiability where I can like probably talk an appraiser into higher. Anyway, so that's a tactic that I do. And then they love me because they're like, they think that I'm the greatest for offering some of my money for them, which I probably won't have to use.
Skin in the game.
Yeah, get in the game too.
That's valuable.
I just want to reflect on what you said about the whole, I know you said that if they are doing 3%, but then you change it to 10%. I actually have a friend who was working with another realtor, and the realtor told him the story how they actually lied about the down payment, and the seller found out. And when the seller found out, he spoke to his attorney about backing out of the deal, and they actually lost their earnest money because of that. So well, I don't know, this is New Jersey, so different parts of the country is probably legal where you can do that, but
well, the thing is I make sure that they're approved for it. I make sure that they're able to put $10,000.
Yeah, so like what if I can jump in here, what Steph's saying is this is basically when you sign an offer to purchase that's issued by the New Jersey Association of Realtors and the Department of Banking, that's like a legal document. When you put your signature on it, we have a 3-day right of rescission in New Jersey. So like when it's called people call it attorney review or whatever, but there's a 3-day right to rescission, and once that goes away, you're in a legal binding contract. So lying anytime is wrong, right? Just don't do it, right? And so the very first house I ever bought, there was multiple offers on it, and it was a short sale time, dude. It was a long time ago, but like there was multiple offers on it, and I wanted to get it, and there was like 20 offers on it. This is like 100 years ago, but I made an offer and I was putting 20% down, and I was approved to put 20% down by my lender, and I had full intentions of putting 20% down. It was a short sale. Once I did my home inspection, there was like mold in the crawl space. There's all these things wrong with the house. I had emotional attachment to this property, and I really wanted to buy it. So instead of putting that money down, instead of putting 20% down, I took a lot of my reserves it was like 10 grand to like whatever, fix the crawl space. Cause there was like, there was like mold in there or whatever, a vapor barrier, things like that. So I did change my down payment, but I still bought the house. Does that make sense? Like I didn't lie, but you can change your down payment. And that's kind of what Steph is saying.
Because the numbers in the contract are almost never going to be exact. The rates are going to change. The lender's going to change. It's just that at that moment in my pre-approval letter, my lender is saying they have 10% to put down. They have this much money in the bank. They are approved. It's not like I'm saying they have money that they don't have, but it also states that you can change it.
By the way, no one knows you change it until like a couple of days before closing, when the mortgage commitment's been issued, clear to close, and everyone just sees a settlement statement, and they're still getting their money from the mortgage company either way.
Because people have things happen where they're like, oh, my family is going to give me 20% down. I'm going to put 20% down instead of 3%, or I got a better rate at 5% than I did at 10%. So I switched it, but it's not, I would never do it for somebody that didn't actually have the funds available.
Cool. That's a good, let's pause for a second. Who else has questions right now? You guys are doing awesome. I appreciate you taking the time. We have a lot of people on this, got 25 people on this call. Who has questions, guys, for these guys between the three of them?
Jen chimed in with a really good, distilled way to say that is like, you can always just read it from the chat, but it says like,
hey,
you can always put more. Yeah, Jen, just repeat it.
So, are you muted? I'm muted. All right, I'm gonna.
You sound okay.
All right, sorry guys. We have you guys on multiple screens. So I'm gonna hop on Kaitlyn's actually.
No, that's fine. It's just
Oh,
a
okay.
little bit of an echo.
All right, so the dialogue is, you can always put more down, but you can never put less. Like if you go into a contract and you get that and you're dealing with another agent on the other side in New Jersey. So if you're known as somebody that says, okay, my client's gonna put 10% down, and then you kind of it's called a bait and switch. We get them all the time. Especially with, I do a lot of REOs and stuff like that. It's really not a good way to do something. So when you go and you speak to the lender and they're doing FHA or conventional 3%, 3.5%, 5% down, you talk to the lender, hey, listen, can they do more? Yes. So when you're negotiating that deal and you're presenting it to the listing agent, you say, listen, my buyers are putting 3.5% down because they're comfortable and they want to do renovations to the property and they want to buy stuff. They can put more down if that makes a difference on whether they're going to get the house or not. But make sure that the buyer totally understands that, listen, you're not going to be able to do renovations for the first year after you move into the house because you're paying more money down to make your contract stronger. But also when you're speaking to them, you let the listing agent know, hey, listen, I just want to let you know, I had a 45-minute buyer counseling session with my buyer. So my buyer is not going to get cold feet. It's not going to do this. It's not going to do that. That makes a difference when you're presenting an offer. It brings value to the table. So your client, one, is like, damn, my realtor goes to bat for me. Nevertheless, you look good on the other end when you're presenting it to a listing agent, and it really will put you ahead of the game, at the forefront, and just better in your industry. Why are you laughing at me, Joe Oz? Goodbye.
I'm not laughing at you. That was great. I was laughing at Steph Morrison. By the way, if you're talking, I should just leave. I'm not laughing at you. One of our values that's important to us here at the JLK Group is fun, and I think we're having a lot of it. Stephanie just asked me if she was going to real estate jail, and I told her, we'll edit that out of the video before it gets to YouTube. And yes, you are going to real estate jail 100%. So
of course.
By the way, the smartest person, and this person's not going to like me saying this, the smartest person in the room is Jen Kuhn. So whatever she says is what you should listen to. Thank you, Jen, for saving us.
No, that's great advice, because that hits exactly what I'm trying to do, is show that they have more, and but do it properly.
I think also too, so you're dealing with, if you have I always check with the listing agent. I check and see like how many listings they have, or if they're really busy, if they're if this is their first listing ever. You have to do a little bit of the legwork for them, right? Like you can't let them just see 3% and say, oh, 3%, we can't do that. Especially like Kate said, like if they see 3% and think that means FHA, then you've got some work to do, right? So you have to present it in the best way possible. So I think it all comes down to that. You brought up your commission, which I've been playing with a little bit lately, which is like, it's interesting. I see Joe's reaction to that. I was excited to see what that would look like.
Don't play with Will Hickey's commission.
Steph, I think we talked about it. No, of course not. I had asked you, I was like, oh, like, what are you doing? If you see 2 point, we're not supposed to talk about exact numbers, I don't think. So if you see X percentage and then you you're used to maybe sometimes getting less than that. How are you using that? And I think you made it a good point, and you kind of just said it again of like, listen, if we get down to it and there's an appraisal that's off by a couple thousand, or we're stuck at a number on inspection, that is something that you're willing to have a conversation about, right? Whether that, like, if you needed to contribute something to get us over the finish line. I think that's better than I've been on a couple of trainings, the Monday masterminds, Joe, where people are saying, I'm just cutting it right on the offer. I'm dropping it down right in the beginning. And that, I don't want to give it away, but to represent that you are open to talking about it down the line makes a little bit more sense to me. I don't know if anybody has any opinions on that at all. Joe, I'm sure you do, Joe.
Are people cutting their commission, or like people like agents being like,
yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Dude,
no.
All right. Yeah. I'm with Jen. By the way, when you guys,
not even ever going to happen.
I can't do the Zoom meeting if we don't make any money. But like, all kidding aside, man. So like, I think I know what Sam's saying is, I'll definitely talk on this, dude. We do not cut our commissions unless we have a talk with our team leader, right? Or like, let me put it this way. When I was on my real estate team, my team leader would be like, you don't cut commissions without talking to me. That kind of sounded shitty, right? I don't know. It didn't sound good to me. I don't add to my expenses. I don't add a line item to my P&L without talking to my bookkeeper, my accountant, and my business coach. Does that make better sense, right? Like, so we have to operate a business here, and we have to stay within a certain profit margin, right? And it's not about being greedy or anything like that, right? The sellers are getting everything, and I get all that. What Sam is saying makes sense. Like, we're not pigs. We're going to make it work if something comes up in the home inspection. Our deals on our team, I'm so proud of this, and Sam mentioned, our deals stay together. We'll do whatever it takes. And so we're in an industry where everyone makes it about them. Like, when I say that, the agent makes it, you heard about the agent's goals. How many deals I have to sell? I did this many million. I did this, blah, blah, blah. Like, not in private masterminds like this, but out like forward facing to the world, right? Which I always see, like, people be on their face, like, I sold, whatever. It's like, the consumer, by the way, when they see that stuff, they just think that you're doing really well at your job. If you say, I sold 50 million, they're like, oh, cool. Sounds like you did your job. Great. So like, we want to make it about the client. Right. And so what that really looks like is like, we just like, let them know, like, if like, we will cut our commissions, we'll do whatever we need to do, but we really don't have to, because we find solutions. Does that make sense? Like, that's kind of it. Like, if something's broken or we need to do something, or we're paying for COs, things like that, but we'll make up for it. But I'd love to hear what Jen says too, if she unmutes herself.
Yes. Okay. So, so many good points that you made. Definitely, when it comes to the table regarding contribution from the team to make a deal work, it's a team conversation, and we just say, like, we actually have one right now where we're the listing agent and the buying agent, and so it's a $875,000 house. We have both ends. And, there's a lot going on. We did not cut our commission in any way, but the buyer extended their lock twice. And it was, I think, like $1,200 because it's a higher price. And we decided as a team that on the listing side and on the buyer side that we would split that to make the deal work to give it to our buyer so that they didn't have to put it out. That was a contribution to hopefully, lead to more deals and do stuff like that. If the house doesn't appraise, I'm not paying because the house didn't appraise. We're going to negotiate that. We're going to, show our value to our client and say, listen, house didn't appraise. How is this going to make it work? I do not make up for properties not appraising. That is a standard.
I saw recently someone like, I waived my commission just to get it done. I know, like, that's crazy. Like, I'm not buying you a house. Like,
and I'm glad that we're on the same page with that, Joe, because now I know you're my people. I will make it work to help.
I remember I like, this is like, I fresh new shit. I was getting I was starting to sell a lot of houses, getting a little overwhelmed, didn't have a lot of leverage. And someone was like, well, can you contribute? And I remember looking at being like, you're buying the house, not me. I'm not buying this house. You're buying this house. You want me to pay for this house with you? Yeah. That's insane. I'm not going to live there. They didn't like that response.
No. We'll contribute in for things that come up in home inspection and stuff like that. Like, there's things, I'm not saying like, we're like, oh no, but I'm not sitting here. I'm not buying your ass a house. You're buying the house. You're paying the bill.
Sure.
And if you can't do that,
fair, it's fair. And then also, like, whatever, we can talk about this forever, right?
Yeah.
There's also the person that's like almost to the finish line. You just want to push them over the finish line and get them out of your life.
You just want to get them the hell out of your life. Yeah, I will pay to get rid of you.
That's the other one too. Cool. All right. Awesome.
I'm glad I brought that up.
Yeah.
Great
conversation.
Great conversation, Sam.
Yeah,
Dude,
I love
you can
that.
find money in a lot of places in a real estate transaction. One place you can't find was my commission.
You just raised the eyebrows of every team leader on this call, like, whoa, 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 Sam. Don't
And
make
make
that
sure you had your volume on. That's all.
Follow-up boss is not going to be like, well, I'll throw in a little bit, or Mojo Dialer was not going to be like, you know what, you guys, oh, you didn't get that one. Let me, we don't have to pay for those eight lines you have this month or whatever. That's not how it works,
They're not chipping in.
Remember, you're running,
right.
remember, you guys are running a business, and all the buyer agents that are like crushing, you guys are going to be running buyer agent teams. You're going to be running a business inside of your business, right? So you guys, that's when, like I said, like I don't add an item. I don't give a raise in my organization. I don't pay myself. Like I don't give myself a raise. I don't take contributions unless I talk to my business. Like everything has to stay within a budget, certain percentages. So we stay profitable, right? So we can continue to grow. But there's another side of that whole thing where we do come from abundance, right? We're doing a lot of business, and when it really, really, really matters. Like I remember last year during coronavirus hit, and we had a massive deal. Like it's kind of like you, Jen. We had like a 1.1 under contract, had both ends of it. Coronavirus hit, the world just like, it was like in the month coronavirus hit, like during the shutdown when they canceled basketball and the stock market crashed and all that stuff. There was that major dip in the stock market, and Gil and I were just like, dude, I think it was like, again, it was probably the same thing. It was like we had to give up we had to give $1,000 to make 20 grand or something and just get it to the finish line. And we're like, you know what, let's just do it. And it worked. And, and it was also, it wasn't about us, by the way, it was about the client. It was a win-win for both clients. And it was both of them were able to reach their goal by us doing that. And everyone had kind of given, everyone had given, right? At that point, the seller came down a little bit. The buyer, the buyer had to put more money down because he was going to borrow hard money. Coronavirus hit. Now he had to go conventional. He had to put more money down, and that's kind of it. We're coming up on 10 minutes here. I want to see who has some questions or who wants to chime in with anything.
Or if no questions, I'd love to hear too. If anybody outside of our panel or anybody who hasn't spoken at all, if anybody's got an offer accepted in the last 6 months, 8 months, what did you do? Was there one specific thing you can point to that got it done? Do you feel like you did something creative? Anything worth sharing? Or Kate and Steph too, if you haven't said it already.
You know what? Did you guys talk about this? I stepped in and out a couple times, but I can't stress, if it wasn't already talked about a lot, Sam, I know you're like 12 months in the business. I know you guys are like, I cannot stress how important it is to have relationships in your market, right? Like when you have, like, if Jen lists a house and, I'm not, we always do the ethical thing, but I can call her up and be like, hey man, having relationships, like when these offers come in, I see all these people and boom, boom, boom. As a matter of fact, Sam, that agent that you worked with that didn't get this house, like, she's a great agent. I kind of teased her because she wasn't like prepared to answer the appraisal gap question, but like, she's a great agent. I saw her name. We had done a deal together. I'm like, whoa, she's got to that's kind of how it works. Those relationships in your market. And this is a really frustrating market. If you're a newer agent, I can't, and I this was told to me as a new agent and I didn't believe it. I was like, the relationships that you make now, like the people that are going to crush in this industry are going to be in it forever. Like they don't go away. Realtors don't retire. If a realtor ever tells you they're going to retire, they're definitely lying. Like you can't, like you never get out of it. Right. But like, they're in it, and those relationships are super important. Jen, I think you can talk on that. Right.
It's so funny because as you're saying this, I'm talking to my team and I've told them this from day one. And just to touch on, and that's why it's important when I'm going to be honest with you, when you're presenting an offer and you're getting new into the business and you're starting to build up the way you answer, sometimes I could be guilty of this, but the way you are on your phone and the way you interact with other agents, that's like really, 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 really important. And your reputation is everything. And once you tarnish your reputation, you're fucking done. Like it doesn't come back. It's not like, what is that? Like, I don't know, sports people, they go and they do stupid shit. And then a year later you forget about it. In this industry, realtors, they never forget. So
I will never, ever forget the name Alistair. When somebody lies and breaks the law or whatever, it's like, it's never going to go away. And it's not, I don't like to talk trash about people, but when people triple down on lies, then if their name can be used as an example, I'm not going to say his last name, but it's just, it becomes that big of a deal. Jen's so right. Like you will not forget. And it's just like, what.
I know every agent that did a bait and switch on one of my contracts to win the bid. Sorry, Steph, it's nothing against that. I'm just saying it's just, no, it's really like.
I'm literally just writing my, like, okay, I made a mistake, man.
No. It has nothing to do with
Hold on,
I'm not like developing bad relationships in my business, I promise.
Not make a mistake. I think Jen's muted. Steph, you did the right thing. Like if they can afford it, you can put it down. They can change their mind in the transaction 100%.
And they can always afford it. I didn't know if I was being called out again.
You did not make a mistake at all. 100%. I'm not being silly.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I was just making a comment with Gil. Sorry.
Yeah,
but you were saying
points of relationships is a thing, and on the listing side, when you're presenting offers to when you have a handful of offers, and you can legitimately say to the people, like, you have to, the goal with the listing on the listing side is to de-risk the transaction. It's not just the price, it's the terms, and part of the terms is the probability of closing. And you can say you either have a relationship that's either good or bad. You either have a relationship or you don't, and the relationship is either good, bad, or unknown, and or small or large or long term or short term. And you can only just relay that information to the seller as one of the terms or one of the pieces of this package that they're going to sign on to, signing the paperwork with. And that's really what when you're presenting it, whether if it's a cold intro, like if Sam or Steph or Kate or anybody's presenting that thing, you're forming the relationship, and it's really about first impressions, having all the things, I's dotted, T's crossed. If I go to look for your cell phone number when I'm looking at the contract to ask you a question about it, if it's there, that's easy. If it's clickable in your email or you sent me a text and you make it easy for me when I've got 16 offers, that first impression really makes a difference. Or if you have a history with the person and they really have good rapport, when I'm talking to the seller, I can vouch for the competency on the other side of the offer and the diligence that's going to happen because of the past experience or not.
I love that. Joe, what kind of time we got left? We got 7 minutes here.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's go around and share some ahas, guys. What we do is come from the heart of a teacher, right? Share something that you heard. The reason why we do that is you might have heard something that someone else didn't hear. You might have heard something differently. For me, it was the appraisal gap. I didn't know that had a name. That's really, really cool. Yeah, that was my big aha, just that appraisal gap. I didn't know, like, just getting that in there and talking about that. And then I realized, like, we accepted an offer this week on a house, and it was like there was 8 offers. One of them addressed the appraisal, and that's the one that we took. It was a really easy decision. Anyone else ahas? I need 3 or else I'll start calling on people.
I have a question.
Jill.
So I feel like I have to dive into all like the wiggle room, like where you can make offers, like where can you make up the money, things like that. But those are like phone calls I'll give you as I learn. My question is, since there are a lot of out of towners that everyone's seeing, how are you speeding that up? Like if they're like, I can't come there till Sunday.
Yo, Sam. Sam Marx gave me the script. Sam, do you want to say the script? You were like, you got to see it within 12 hours, 24, you're gonna be locked out. Do you remember that script you gave me?
Yeah. Like as soon as it hits the market, you have to move quick. You're not gonna have a chance at that house if you can't be there within 24 hours, especially if it's nice. If it's like move-in ready, if it's turnkey, if it doesn't need any work, I don't care what price point or size or town it's at. If it's easy for the New York person for us to come and step right in, you got it. You just have to go 24, 48 hours, 48 at the most. You should be there.
Well, I was going to say, Sam, are they saying, all right, Sam, can you go look at it for me and call me or show me with your phone? Like, are you doing things like that?
I don't know if Sam does that. I've done that in Orange County. Like in Orange County, California, everyone that moves here is from they're coming from New York, Chicago. A lot of people, it's like not their second home. It's like their 3rd, 5th, or 6th home. And like, money's kind of a different thing to them, but like I've gone 100 times. Like it's very common where I'll say, hey, cool. Hey, I'm moving from Denver to Irvine. I got to find something quick. and I would FaceTime them through properties. And like I've had people make offers on houses through FaceTime, and that's kind of it. I didn't have it happen to me, but those do have a high rate of falling apart once the wife lands at John Wayne and looks at her new house. It hasn't happened to me. I've done it 2 or 3 times where I'm like, holy crap, that worked. And then usually you secure the property, they fly in, and then they like see the house at the inspection. But that can be done. That's a really great way of getting creative. But here's what I'm going to tell you that Sam's probably about to chime in on. If there's 30 offers on a house and I have 30 offers and you present your offer and I say to you like, oh, did your people see this house? And they're like, no, but they love it. I'm not going to take your offer, right? I'm going to be like, well, these people have seen it physically, like, so again, when I talk about what I've done, it's really different. It's not like a multiple offer crazy situation. And then Jill, the cool thing that you have is like, you're on the team, right? So like, as you're going through these motions, like, like when things start getting crazy, like you're going to you can shadow Sam, like you can hear what he says to people, like all those things, but every step of the way, you'll have us to kind of guide you through it. And then by the way, and people are like, well, what if they can't get down here? They can't get down here quick enough. By the way, that means they're not a buyer. It means they're not a buyer. And the other thing that I wrote down was, and I don't know if you guys touched on this, we have by the way, our YouTube channel, JLK Group YouTube channel, all these are taped. They're saved on our YouTube channel. Go there, like our channel. You'll get alerts when things go up there. But Sam Marx and I did a buyer consultation training, and it's on there. Like you can see how to do a buyer consultation. If you take a half hour, or it's really like 20 minutes to do a buyer consultation with your people, you can do it on Zoom anywhere in the country, right? You do it with them. You're managing their expectations. They know what's up, and they have to do what you say. Like if you bring them value, you communicate the process to them. If you interpret the market correctly to them and they have a full understanding of this, they should listen to you. Like the doctor, dude. Like the doctor's like, Joe, we got to cut that arm off. I'm like, shit, okay. Like I trust the doctor. Like if you trust the doctor, you trust the doctor. You're the professional, and really they're looking to you. Like one of the most, and this is important, one of the things I see, one of the biggest mistakes I see realtors make is they let their client, like they don't have confidence in themselves or the process, and they let their clients dictate how the process goes. Does that make sense? Like they're like, oh, well, okay, well, we could do it that way. Instead of being like, no, like Stephanie's really good at, like, she talked about it, like, she's like, no, this is how this is going to go. I would even tell people, like, you're going to lose a couple houses, by the way, and like, she says the whole thing. Another aha was like, oh, she says worth, not, I don't think that, I always say this is going to go for this. Now I'm going to say like, the value is at this number. I see the value at this number. The house is worth this, right? And then it's like, and then when they lose it, you're like, well, and you don't even have to say, I told you so, right? You're like, oh, I told you it was worth 400 when you offered 380, and they lose some. But yeah, they have to trust the professional or they're not a buyer.
Right. Comes back to trust.
Yeah, let's get in one. We got 2 more minutes. Let's get in one more aha.
Okay, I don't know if it's really an aha or just that something that I think everybody really should just take into consideration. I don't remember if it was Sam who said it in the beginning, but we were actually just talking about this yesterday. When you write an offer or you're getting offers on your listings, just making sure that everything is fully filled out. Like we get so many offers from these agents on our listings that are like half-assed, and it's like, do you not know what you're doing, or are you just that lazy? Like, which is worse? We're not really sure. The fact that you're just lazy as hell, or you aren't fully trained and you're sending over offers that like half the information is just not even filled out. Like you couldn't bother to just look at tax records and fill something out. So it's like, if you're not taking that time for your client and yourself and doing that, why would we want to work with you or accept your offer? So I think that that's just something really like mindful to just make sure that you're always fully filling out contracts to the best of your ability. So that was my aha.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to wrap up. We got a really great suggestion here. It says, when sending in your highest and best, make it very easy for the list agent and send the entire offer package over again with your new terms. Don't just send the pages with the new info. That's so huge. Like if you send me the whole package.
I love you.
What's that?
Gil said, I love you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah.
I said, I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about easy. You just have to like ask one follow-up right there, or it's all in one spot. I can just forward it to the attorney. Have your attorney info handy, like all of those things.
100%, dude. Yeah, get that. All right, cool. We're gonna stop on time. And I put a link to our YouTube channel. If you guys want to like and subscribe, you'll get updates. All of our trainings are on there. Our buyer consultation training, and they're open to everybody. So, cool. Thanks for joining, everyone. You guys did an awesome job. How about a round of applause? Aloha.
Aloha. Kayla, thank you so much. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, guys.